Welcome to the first lesson of 7th class history, that is when, where and how. In this lesson we are going to study about continuity and changes. Next we discuss about the changing name of a land subcontinent India, how the name of India came into exist. Next we discuss about the sources of history. In that we also discuss various sources like literature, court chronicles, memories and autobiographies, account of travelers, regional literature, religious literature, calligraphy, archival records, archaeological sources, inscriptions, monuments and numismatics, and we also discuss about the sculptures and the paintings. Let us start one after the other. This period, the lesson start with the period of medieval period. The period starts from 700 year CE to 1800 CE. Approximately 1100 years of consists as a medieval period. In the last year 6th standard you all discussed about the period of ancient period. In this year, in the 7th class history, we will discuss in the various chapters regarding the medieval period. So we during the medieval period, different groups of people from Central Asia like Arabs and Turks and Mughals, invasions by the different traders and kings brought a new religion called as Islam, which became an integral part of India's culture heritage by the 12th century CE. So with the time passes, the integration of different cultures made a significant impact of our country. The medieval period was also marked by a struggle between a number of powers. So before the Turks or the Islam religion established, the regional kings in the North India have a heavy stiff competition among the kings, mainly the kingdoms like Palas, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas in the North India, whereas in the South India we can see the kingdoms like strong and powerful kingdoms like Cholas, Pandyas, Cheras, Chalukyas, Kakatiyas, etc. So, we will discuss in this lesson the rise and fall of the great dynasties like the Delhi Sultanates and the Mughal Sultanates, who contributed immensely to the heritage of this land. We also see about the centralized administrative system, means we can say that the whole country is ruled by the single empire and the single emperor, that is called the central administrative system. How it been taken out in different chapters of the history we will discuss. So these they fought with the kings and the petty chiefs. The grandeur of their rulers and the splendors of their art and architecture will also form a part of our study. So in this lesson we will also learn about their splendorous art and architectures. And all the period, in the medieval period there is a complete fusion of new and existing traditions. Fusion means mixing or intermingling, such as existing like what is India's at that time different kings, and also the new kings like Turks and Mughals. There is intermingling. So for example, the food, we can say the some food items which we eat now were brought by the Mughals like parathas, gulab jamuns, kebabs, biryanis, shahi tukras and other delicious Mughlai foods. And also we can say that dressing style also been changed with the salwar kameez, kurta pajama and dardoji embroideries and kaftans. And today we can see the landscape grand gardening and architectural masterpieces like Taj Mahal and Red Forts and Gol Gumjas are examples of Indo-Islamic integrations. Means there is a fusion of Indian architecture and Islamic architecture we can see in the Taj Mahal and Gol Gumjas, etc. The birth of Urdu language is also result of this intermingling of a culture. Urdu is a language which is which took birth by two languages, Hindi and Parsi language. A new language been came, that is called as a Urdu. So these are all we changes noticed. Things continued as before. Not only that, we also the growth of trade and commerce during this period and emergence of towns with specific functions such as Hampi and the Maslipatnam, which are the port cities newly emerged and become very popular during the medieval period. We also trace important social trends including changing in the caste system. like Bhakti movement, Sufi movements, different movements been introduced in the religious and religious developments. And also we can say that languages, different languages are emerged, such as Gujarati, Marathi, Kannada, Bengali, Rajasthani, Odia, and Assami. In different regions, different languages are flourished. We also see how regional kingdoms began to flourish as the rulers asserted their independence and broke away from the empire. After the Mughal Empire become weak, how the new kingdoms were emerged, like Maratha kings or Mysore kings, how they become as a powerful king during the 17th 18th centuries, we will discuss in the different chapters. And this in the medieval period, the travelers accounts, court chronicles, inscriptions, and calligraphies to lavish palaces, temples, tombs, and monuments has given complete historical sources. The source has been acquired from this calligraphies and also inscriptions. So let us start with the name, how the land subcontinent of India came as a name with the different names. It is called as Aryavarta during a period. Why Aryavarta? Because the land will Vedic period, during the Vedic period, the subcontinent is called as Aryavarta, the land between the Himalayas and Aravalis. And during the period of Puranas, the subcontinent is termed as Bharat Varsham. And later, when the Persians and the Arab traders visited to India, they have denoted the word Hindustan as Hind is Persian is derived from the Indo-Aryan terms Sindh, and Stan means land. In the 13th century, the Hindustan denoted the area around or beyond the Indus river Indus. And the subsequent rulers in the Sultanates and Mughal period referred to their realms of Hindustan. Often it referred to the geographical region of the North India and Himalayas to the Deccan Plateaus and Punjab to Assam. What we can see today, the subcontinent, the whole area is said to be as a Hindustan. But according to our constitution, the country is called as a Bharat, and also India to describe the country. Let us discuss the sources of history. As medieval period, we don't have any sort of a this is a Mughlai food which we can see in this picture, like parathas, Shahi Mughlai chicken, that's all. This is a picture, Aryavarta, the land between the Himalayas and Aravalis. Next, we discuss at the sources of histories. So we don't have any print media or the books or pen or pencil to write and store our history, but different sources has given us the source as a history. First, we discuss about the literary sources. Literary sources, the archival records which are from 700 to 1800 century. The records are available in the form of manuscripts, books, and scrolls, which are kept preserved in the libraries and museums in India and also in the abroad. So the manuscripts means the handwritten script is called as a manuscript. Next comes our court chronicles. The court historians and poets often wrote the history of the rulers of the ruling dynasty of the kingdom in which they lived. Such textual records are called as a court chronicles. For example, a court chronicle means a king will appoint certain person who will list out the account of the king's ruler period, like when he had invaded, to whom he had invaded, what is his administrative policies, how many children, what is the area, what are the coins, that all to be given complete data of the king by the court chronicles. For example, we have Minaz us Siraj, Tabaki-e Nazari. This books gives us information about the Delhi Sultans, and Islami Futu us Sultani deals with the period extend from the reign of Gajinwadi to the reign of the Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Ziauddin Barani's Tariq-e Firoz Shah tells us about the Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Reason: Abdul Fazl, Aini Akbari, and Akbarnama are the two most important works dealing with the Akbar's reason. And another important contemporary work is Badauni Munkutba ur Tawarikh. These are Persian words, Urdu words. The Badsha Nama and Alamgir Nama covers Shah Jahan's and early era of Aurangzeb's. Next comes our memories and autobiographies. As we know that autobiography also gives a brief information to the as a source of history. Like autobiography means the history, the person's life history. Like, for example, in your book, it is given the Babarnama that throws the light on the landscapes of India and observation of the kings. Jahangir's autobiography, and Jahangir Nama gives us good idea about a Jahangir's reason. Gulbadan Begum, Humayun written Humayun Nama gives us insight of the affairs of the royal households. These are all the Mughal autobiographies. Next comes our accounts of travelers, where the travelers from the different continents like Africa, Europe, and even from the Central Asia, many merchants, traders, and kings visited India during the medieval period. For example, we can see that, and this the account of travelers have given a detailed account of their experiences in India, and historians rely on writing of the foreign travelers for a fair and unbiased account of the king reason, because we say that this is an unbiased account because they will write show a true picture, true information of the political, economical, and social life of the people. But court chronicles only will excavate about the king's ruling. Historians often compare with them with the account written by the court historians. So, for example, we can see the people who are visited to India during the medieval period are Al-Biruni, visited to India with Muhammad of Ghazni in 11th century, and wrote extensively about Indian people in his book Tehkeek-e-Hind. Some well-known foreign travelers like visited to medieval period is Ibn Battuta, Nicole Conti of Italy, Abdul Razak of Persia, Athanasius Nikitin of Russia. Not only that, from the Europe in 16th century, many were visited. The Jewish missionaries and travelers like Bardoza, Raphael Fitch, Thomas Rio, Tavernier Bernier, and Munchi have described the condition of the people of the state, of the trade and commerce, and the magnifications of the account. Not only this, the Marco Polo who visited to India, he has said that about the India at the medieval period as the richest and most splendid province in the world. And next comes our religion literature. This is Akbarnama, which is written by the Abul Fazl. Religion literatures. Religion literatures during this period, the medieval period, the epics of our country like Mahabharata and Ramayana were written in the regional languages like Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Odia, and very famously religion books, literatures like Jayas's Gita Govinda and Chand Barosi's Prithviraj Raso are and Kannada poets like Pampa and Baswana are very famous during the medieval period. And comes to the religion literature, we will discuss about a separate lesson about religious literature, where we see the change in the religion, like a new emergence was came into the period, like a bhakti movement, Sufi movement become very popular, and wrote a lot of poetry which reflects the time they lived in. Even next comes our calligraphy. Here are some pictures of calligraphy. So calligraphy is first a manuscript, handwritten script, and very popular in the medieval period because they are very stylish and beautifully decorated. This kind of decorative writing is called as a calligraphy. So this also one of the source of history which tells about the different reasons about the kings during the different periods. Though the tradition of calligraphy exists in ancient India, the Persian influence gave rise to distinct style. Calligraphy was used extensively to decorate monuments, pillars, tombs, and calligraphy used floral and geometrical designs. So these are also used as a decorative things. Next comes our archaeological sources. Now, in that we have discussed about the inscriptions. These are the inscriptions. We can see that beautiful writing which are show the inscriptions. Inscriptions is a the study of inscriptions is called as a epigraphy. Epigraphy means the study of inscriptions. So we don't know the language what we are studying now. So to know what the time at that time what they want to express, that is a separate subject is there, that is called as a epigraphy. So they will the inscriptions in various languages and scripts tells us about the different dynasties and the histories. So for they record the achievements of the rulers, royal proclamations, and gift made by the kings to the temples, villages, and scholars. These inscriptions also throw light on the social and economical conditions of the people. Medieval period, we have a plenty of material ranging from the Chola inscriptions to the inscriptions on the walls of Taj Mahal and Red Fort. We can see today also the inscriptions which are carved on the Taj Mahal and the Red Forts. Next comes our monuments. Very beautiful monuments were built by different kings during the medieval period, which are the heritage of our present day of our country. The beautiful monuments like a Red Fort, Purana Kila, Jama Masjid, Taj Mahal, Brideshwara Temple in Tanjavur, Hawa Mahal in Jaipur, and Fort of Jaisalmer in Gwalior are very famous. Today they stood for a has famous monuments and heritage of our country. Next comes our numismatics. The study of coins is called as a numismatics. So this is also also plays an important role as a source of history. Which why? Because coins gives us the name of the king or a queen who issued them. The coin also mention the dates of the reign of the rulers and the dynasties, which can be compared with the literary sources. So coins acts as an insight into the state of economy and the polity of a period. For example, a coin maintained during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq tells about the state of economy, how the means they are used the gold coins or silver coins or bronze coins that will tell about the standard of the people. Sometimes the coins of a particular kingdom are found in several places, indicating that all these places were a part of kingdom or they had a trade relation with it. Next comes our sources, sculptures and paintings. Sculptures means carving of a portrait of a person or a mythology or a gods on a stone or any metal, mainly on the bronze metal used to carve those. So those sculptures are very beautiful, and till today they are very popular and very expensive. For example, we can say the Nataraja statue, dancing statue of Shiva, is a famous which been carved during the Chola period. Next comes our painting had a various themes such as the court scenes, palace scenes, mythological tales, and hunting scenes. Many styles of miniature painting evolved during this period. The sculptures and paintings also tells a lot about the life and cultures of the period. Next comes our oral traditions. Oral traditions means which is not all written, where there is no evidence of written, only like general stories which comes from generations to generations. Those will be also act as a source of history, but it is not taken as a completely, we can the historians cannot rely on this oral traditions, because there will be so many changes. For example, the story of Prithviraj Chauhan and his wife Soumya Geeta, or a story of Kabir and Mirabai reflects the things of the period. A good historian thoroughly and carefully uses the different source of the history and then analyze the interpretation, then judiciously before writing the history. Thank you.